Hello friends, welcome to Hila at Home. It's Hila here. Today I wanted to talk about productivity. It's one of those things that I am very passionate about, and I do consider myself to be a bit of a productivity ninja. I studied it at university and it was one of my specialities. And I tend to apply a lot of the productivity principles to how I run my 7-person household. So today we're talking about how to rescue a half-wasted day, and that's because I had a half-wasted day. So I thought it would be fun to share with you some of the things that you can do to recover a half-wasted day. Train wreck mornings, they are a universal human experience, and it's kind of like you had big plans and it's early afternoon and you've accomplished virtually nothing. Maybe it's your fault and maybe it's not, but it doesn't really matter at the moment that you do realize that you've wasted the morning. What matters is that half your day is gone and you are not a happy camper. So at this point, productivity ninjas and average folk part ways. So I'm going to share with you some of the little things that us productivity ninjas do to keep it going. While the average person might think, oh, this day is short, I can't believe I wasted all that time. Well, hopefully tomorrow goes better. We productivity ninjas think, well, this day is not going as planned, and later on, I will figure out what happened, but right now I've got a half a day to turn into solid gold, and let's get to work. And I know a half-wasted day is very disappointing, but it's also an opportunity to figure out how you can improve next time. So I have a 10-minute approach that I'll share with you for turning things around. So number one is to focus your attention on the present moment. First, take a moment to let go of whatever happened in the first half of your day. Now, this can be very hard if you are somebody who's a perfectionist and quite hard on yourself. And I have to admit that it has taken me a long time to let go of those tendencies of being too harsh on myself. A little trick is to treat yourself how you would treat your best friend or your most beloved sister. You would never talk to them in the way that you probably would berate yourself. So that was something that I have had to learn to do. So let go of whatever happened in the first half of your day. Maybe it was your fault, probably is, but that's okay. It's fine. Perhaps it was cat videos on YouTube, or it was an emergency that took up your morning, but now is not the time for analysis. Now is the time for action. The past is past and you're here now. Focus your attention on this moment's most important question. How can I best use the time that remains? I think actually that is one of life's most important questions, but I don't think we have time to get into that. So later on, you will look at what turned your morning upside down. But for now, let go of the frustration and just get your head right. You've got a plan to make. Which leads us into step number 2, make a new plan. So look at the original plan that you'd made for today, whether that was in your control journal or just a mental list, or it was on your Google Calendar. So let's just say you'd planned to accomplish X, Y, and Z today, and you can immediately tell that there's no time to do all 3 of these tasks. And so it's time to triage. You have to identify the most important tasks. And the best way to do this is to start off by thinking whether there's anything that must get done today. That is something that something bad will happen if you don't create a certain outcome by the end of the day. So for me today, I had a couple of items that sold on eBay, and I had to get those posted out. Otherwise, they would be marked on my eBay seller profile as sent out late. So I had to get that done. Make a note of what the most important task is and then get on with it. And you don't want to exceed more than 3 most important tasks. The second step is to assess your schedule and figure out how much discretionary time you have left today. And if the answer is none, if there are any upcoming commitments, reschedule those to another day and ditch any meetings if you have to, but make sure you can get at least one most important task done today. Step number 3, get fine-grained. When you are in an unproductive mood, as I was this morning, you're likely to be and you're likely to feel like that when half of your day has vanished before your very eyes. It's even more important to break tasks down into bite-sized chunks. And if any of your 3 most important tasks are too vague and unwieldy, try and break them down. You can use a spreadsheet or you can use a notebook, but the point is to be quick and to the point. And for each of the tasks, ask yourself, what does done look like and what steps need to happen and in what order? And then write out a new schedule. Assign your most important tasks to specific times, and most importantly, adjusting your expectations from the original plan. The next step is to manage your environment, and now is definitely not the time to be mucking about in a distracting environment. If you need a change of place, make it so. Get out of the house if you have to, or take your laptop to a coffee shop if you're somebody who needs to be working on your laptop. If you need to tidy up so that there isn't a lot of distracting clutter that you may find distracting, get it done. Changing your environment can help you to draw a mental line in the sand between the unproductive day you've had so far and the astonishing recovery that you are about to display. Step 4, which is the final one, by the way, some of the steps were sort of sub-steps, is to, as soon as possible, in the evening, to find 5 or 10 minutes to journal about the experience. Basically a reflection to kind of figure out what sabotaged your morning and how did you bounce back, and if the situation is preventable in the future, how are you going to prevent it next time? I think with productivity and homemaking, which I definitely find go hand in hand, a lot of what happens in our lives can simply be outside our control, and some bad days are unavoidable and everybody gets their share, but we can control how we respond to the bad days, and with practice we can often turn them around and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, so to speak. And so those are some of the things that I do to turn my day around, and that's what I particularly did on this day. So I started off by cleaning out and just tidying up and putting everything right, though it was late afternoon, and I just had to tell myself no more frustration, we're just getting on with it. Today's meal is one of the summer favorite meals for my family. I love having pork chops, and it's something that I tend to prepare to have in the summer because we can cook them over the grill. And to serve with the pork chops, I'm making a potato salad, and I am going to do some sauteed courgettes because our courgettes in the garden are coming in to harvest now, and they are so delicious, absolutely gorgeous, as well as the mange tout that will go with it. So to make the potato salad, I peel the potatoes and then I cut them into cubes about roughly 1.5 inches or 2 inches wide, thick, and I'm going to be cooking them in the Instant Pot using the steamer function. I just find that it's much better to steam them rather than boiling them, and that's mostly because I almost always never get it just right whenever I boil them on the stovetop. Plus, given that it is summer, it is quite hot and humid, I do try and avoid doing too much open top cooking on the hob itself. It's quite interesting. I tend to use the Instant Pot a lot more in summer. I had to buy the steamer basket for the Instant Pot separately. It doesn't actually come with the Instant Pot, but there's loads of varieties available on Amazon, and I do find the steamer function to be very useful for a lot of things in the Instant Pot. So I basically get that, and I put about 1 cup or 2 cups of water into the Instant Pot, and I put my potatoes on the steamer basket, and I'll add salt to them now, because if you don't, the potatoes don't have that lovely slightly umami flavor, which is so delicious. And I just go for the steamer function, and I steam for 6 minutes on normal, and I let that go. So I'm preparing the onions now to go with the courgettes, and I just like to dice the onions. I'm using up a white onion here, but my preference would have been red onions because they have so much flavor, but it is what it is. And I have to say though, coming back to productivity, just by doing these little small tasks at a time, when I was trying to recover the day, by the point I got to this section where I was starting to cook, I was already beginning to feel that lovely feeling of accomplishment. And it was snowballing into realizing that, yes, okay, we're in the afternoon, but I've managed to do this and I'm going to create a beautiful, lovely meal for my family. And then we will carry on rather than just giving up on the day. And that is the power of just taking little baby steps and just being kind to yourself in general, and not berating yourself and not being too harsh on yourself. It does create a lovely calmness, and it gives you the space to then carry forward in a loving manner and create that loving environment as well. My children have just started their summer holidays, and with the summer holidays, I'd like to give them a few days to just completely unschool or de-school, because our school terms are incredibly intense. There's a lot of early mornings, and because of all the after school activities and the extracurricular activities they do, it's constantly go, 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 and even our weekends. So almost every single day there is something that is going on. So it is nice when the summer comes around and everybody is just relaxed. One of the best things about growing your own vegetables, particularly the courgettes, you can see that when they're picked fresh, they just have this lovely intense color and lovely intense flavor. And I'll just use a little bit of olive oil in a non-stick pan at medium heat, saute the onions until they are translucent, and I will add the courgettes to that, and then I'll just saute them for a couple of minutes. And in the meantime, I'm just washing the snap peas, the minced, and they're a beautiful vibrant color, incredibly sweet, so very sweet. And these ones are going to be so easy to prepare. I just blanch them in some boiling water, literally for just a couple of minutes, not even that, probably a minute or so, and they just maintain their lovely crunchiness. I also wanted to add some garlic to the courgettes, so I went outside to get some garlic cloves from where we're curing the garlic. It's been out in the sun now for about 3.5 weeks, so it probably needs another week or so before it's ready to be processed into long-term storage. But what I've been doing is whenever I've needed garlic, I'm just going out to pick some cloves that I'll then prepare, and oh, they smell so good. And whilst I was outside, I noticed that my other sweet pea plant has got flowers on it, which I picked straight away, because with sweet pea flowering plants, the more you pick the flowers when they open, the more they will make more flowers. That way they don't waste their energy into creating seed pods, which is the signal to the plant that it needs to stop flowering. So I've just been picking the sweet pea flowers every morning and evening and keeping a small lovely little posy in the house. So there's the courgettes added to the sauteed onions, and I'm just gonna do that for a few minutes, saute them for a few minutes, and that's all they need, and then they'll be ready. And they are so delicious, absolutely delicious. So much so that by the time I got round to serving them, there was about half of them left because I just kept on tasting some and tasting some. Incredibly Moorish. I'm preparing the garlic cloves, which they just have a really gorgeous scent. Honestly, once you start growing your own garlic, you probably won't ever go back, and they're so very easy to grow as well. And over the next couple of weeks, I'll show you how I actually preserve my garlic so that I can use it for the rest of the year. And what I do is I just remove the outer layers, and then I will use the garlic press for them, and that will give a lovely garlic puree. This is my first year growing the yellow courgettes, and I must say they are absolutely delicious, and they will be featuring more in our vegetable garden. And I'm just adding there a few cracks of pink Himalayan sea salt just to give it a little bit more of a kick. You could also add black pepper to them. The possibilities are endless with courgettes, and as you can see, I could not stop eating them. They are just so good and so lovely in a way that I haven't experienced with store-bought courgettes. The next thing is preparing the marinade for the pork chops. So I'm just using a very simple, straightforward marinade that uses 1 cup of soy sauce. So it's quite an umami flavor. And then I'm adding in a couple of tablespoons of honey, and that's going to give it a bit of a sweet flavor. And then I'm going to add in a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, and that will give it like a little bit of a tang, a piquantiness. And then I'm going to be using the garlic cloves. I'm going to puree those and add them into there, mix that together, and that's where the pork chops are going to be marinated in. I'm also going to be adding some whole grain mustard, or I think it's called Dijon mustard, and I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of the Dijon mustard. I'll put the recipe in the description box down below. Even though I'd been lazy and wasted half the morning, I do feel like I got quite a good workout using this garlic press. It definitely helps to strengthen your hand. Right, the next thing to do is just to whisk all of that stuff together. Make sure that you mix it in. You could add some black pepper if you wanted to, or if you prefer it to be more on the sweeter side, add some more honey. This is such a lovely versatile marinade, in which you can use for any other cuts of meat. So it's a real treat for us today to be having these pork chops, because I bought these from a butcher's in Ilkley called Lishman's, and they are a lovely traditional old-fashioned English butcher's shop, and they just have all lovely cuts of meat. And so we got to see it being cut up when we were over in Ilkley with my boys. And so yeah, so they're nice and thick and juicy. We don't normally have access to this high quality kind of pork chops, so that was a really nice treat. So I'm just making sure that all of the pork chops are getting nicely slathered and soaked in the marinade, and I'll cover that over with some cling film, and they will go into the fridge for about 30 minutes to an hour before they get grilled on the fire outside. Ideally, if I had been more organized, I would have actually planned this so that they had longer to be marinated for, and that would have created a more intense flavor. But even if you do cook them straight away with this particular marinade, they will still have a lovely flavor regardless. When steaming the potatoes, as soon as the Instant Pot is done, it's important to do the pressure release so that it quickly reduces the temperature. Otherwise, it will make the potatoes way too mushy. So whilst I'm waiting for that pressure release to happen, I'm just going to be drying out and putting away all of the things that were in the dishwasher that I got started as part of my process of changing the environment, just by resetting the kitchen, so that it gave me that sense of I'm starting afresh. I'm going to get on with this day, even though it is late in the day. The potatoes are now ready, so the trick is to just get them out of the Instant Pot as quickly as possible, otherwise they will continue to cook. And I let them cool for about 20 minutes or so, And in the meantime, I was preparing the other ingredients that were going to go into the potato salad. I had some celery sticks in the fridge, and so I just finely chopped those. They add a nice little crunch, I think, to potato salad, but only if they're finely chopped. I can't stand it when the celery is too big. And so I'll add that, and I also added some finely diced shallots. I have some shallots from my garden, which have a supreme sweet flavor that is really lovely in a potato salad. I'm also going to be adding some bacon bits, which I also got from Lishman's Butchery, and they were really delicious. Some of the best bacon bits I have ever tasted, because I think you add bacon to anything and you make it delicious. So adding the bacon bits, and to that I'm just adding a mixture of equal parts mayonnaise and creme fraiche. And I like to do that because it sort of reduces the richness of the mayonnaise. I find that if I just use mayonnaise straight on its own, it can create a very rich tasting potato salad, but when I mix it in with the creme fraiche, it makes it nice and lighter. And on hot days, I didn't want it to be as heavy, because with the potatoes, the starch, they already had add that element of heaviness. The mange too need just a couple of minutes with the boiling water from the boiling water tap there, and just blanch them, and then I take them out. And the idea is to still have that really bright popping green color. I know I've overcooked them when they begin to look more like the bowl that I'm serving them in, when they start to look a little bit more brown, but at this point they're just absolutely perfectly al dente. And to serve the potato salad, I put it into a serving bowl, and it creates a nice lovely mountain that's very inviting. My children absolutely love potato salad. It's one of those perennial favorites that they will eat it on its own, and they will eat it with anything else you serve it with. And speaking of which, I'd handed over the pork chops to my husband, who is the king of the barbecue grill, and they are grilling and coming along beautifully. Unfortunately, because the weather hasn't been as cooperative here in the north of England, we're not able to eat outside. So we're having our meal indoors, and it was really lovely. We had a wonderful time sat together as a family, enjoying one of the first couple of days of our summer holiday. Thank you so much for coming along and joining with us and hanging out with us. And I hope that you found some of the tips useful about how to recover a half-wasted day like I did on this particular day. And I was very proud of myself for being able to turn it around and present and serve a loving, healthy, nutritious meal to my family. Until I see you next time, friends, I wish you blue skies, health, and happiness. Bye.